Yo, what's up YouTube? It's me, Bad Choice Noah, here with my dad, aka Brian Barczyk'S. And today we are in the haunted room in our house. We haven't made a George story video in a very long time. And, you know, I just saw some people commenting over the last couple months or weeks or so. I figured it was time to give you guys another George story video.
Yeah, you know, first off, I'm going to say we're just talking about, like, I can't really remember what I've said on some of the videos. I've told Noah a ton of stories, so if I'm repeating, you know, bear with me. And for those of you guys that haven't seen the George Chronicles, this will be new to you. So regardless, George was a friend of mine. He passed away when I was 18 years old. He was my best friend. And I've talked about the fact that he had some kind of special abilities and so on like that, which, you know, kind of seemed to circle around like all kinds of things in his life. I told the story about when his mom had told me after he passed away that he literally brought up when he was like 2 years old that he remembered a conversation she had with him when he was in her stomach still, and it was like he said, you know, remember that time on the railroad tracks when you told me this, and she was pregnant with him, and he remembered that story. Crazy. So there's all kinds of things. He was a special guy, you know. I'll tell a few stories. You guys may have heard him, you may not have, I don't know. I'll start with the fact that the house definitely had some interesting things going on. And what I always heard was that his grandmother on one side was kind of like really into white magic, and the other side was into black magic. And the one that was into black magic had passed away, and George would oftentimes hear her in the house telling him when he did bad things that he was a good boy, and when he did good things, he was a bad boy, and he said that he used to hear this all the time.
And that's the same house that we visited, right?
It's the same house that we visited, exactly.
So I'm going to pop a tag up right here, and you can watch that video if you haven't seen it. But I think we need to go inside of it.
I think we do. I mean, I'm totally down with, like, going to the people that live there now and just ask them if we could go in and kind of maybe spend the night there alone or something, or at least a few hours there alone.
Spend the night. You know, I saw some people commenting asking they really want to just have an interview with the house owners to see, like,
if they've experienced
any
anything.
experiences.
And you know, go back to the house again. A lot of the stories that I heard that I didn't experience myself came from George's mom, who ironically enough was a psychologist. So she's, you know, had a master's degree and so on like that. So it's a pretty credible person. They had an uncle, Uncle Kenny, who lived with them up in the attic, and that's where George died, in the attic. A lot of the activity really, you know, happened in the attic. And what I mean by attic, it was a bungalow. He had stairs you could go up, and there were 2 bedrooms up there, some closets in the wall. Before that place was built out, it was just one big room. Before it was 2 separate bedrooms and stuff like that. And Uncle Kenny actually lived there, and he was a big burly biker, you know. He was just always the bad and so like that, and you know, apparently he lived there for a short period of time, and they worked separate shifts. George's mom and dad and him worked opposite shifts, so they never really saw each other much. And at one point, I guess George's mom actually told me that she ran into Kenny at a supermarket and kind of confronted him because she said, hey, listen, you know, you've been making so much noise when we're trying to sleep. Could you please not make so much noise working out and stuff like that upstairs? And she thought he was literally working out because they had like weights and stuff like that. And he said, he goes, I actually didn't want to tell you, but I moved out like a week and a half ago because I woke up one night and literally saw things flying around up there. Like flying around, literally flying around. He said he ran out of the house and he's like, I'm never going back there.
That's crazy, like, because obviously I've never experienced that in real life, but I've had dreams that feel very real where there's poltergeist happening. And if you guys don't know what the poltergeist is, it's just like he said, where there's basically objects that shouldn't be moving just flying across the room, being moved, being pushed over, stuff like that. And like, I've had dreams where I think it's real life. I'm like in my bed and there's just everything in my room just being thrown around. It's so weird, but like, and then I snap out of it and I wake up, and I just couldn't even imagine the feeling of not being able to snap out of it and wake up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
well, I told the story of that happened to me at my house when I was a kid. You know, that type of thing happened to me where you know, I woke up with something in my face flying around, and it turned into reality for a few hours later. But regardless, back to the house, George's mom also told me that when they first moved in, things would go missing all the time, like silverware, socks, you know, just little things, and they always just thought, oh, we just misplaced them or whatever the case is. And again, that upstairs was just, basically a shell of an attic upstairs. And again, it had the roof like this, so the sides right here were actually bricked off. And they actually went in and they decided they were going to open those bricked off to make closets in the wall and make them into bedrooms. And when they opened up this bricked off wall, all of the stuff that there was missing was inside that wall.
Like hundreds of things, or
I mean, like dozens of things. Dozens of
That's
things that were missing were inside. I mean, literally like socks and silverware. I mean, things that were personally theirs. No way to get inside there. Impossible.
Yeah, that's crazy. Cause like we watch we watch a lot of ghost shows, Travel Channel, stuff like that, and they always talk about when there's a spirit in there, like in your house or whatever. It's a very high possibility that things will go missing and stuff like that. And every show I've watched, they've never found the actual object. So that's really interesting. I wonder if they are still in the house on the people that claim that their stuff's missing.
And you wonder if it again was attached to the family or if it was attached to the property. I'm not 100% sure, but that particular one, years later when I was hanging out, obviously this was way before I was friends with him. We went to school together and then played in a couple bands together. He was my drummer and he was my best friend. But so during that time, a lot of friends would hang out at the party house because that was the band house. It was the party house. And there's this one guy named Rodney that actually ran away from home. He was about 50. We were about 15, 16 at the time. He ran away from home and hiding from like his parents and stuff like that. He would actually sleep in the little attic area now that, that little area. And that was where, like, again, when I used to spend the night, you would always hear like knocking on the walls and from that area. It was really streaky. And sure enough, he was there for 3 or 4 days and he used to always tell us like, man, there's a lot of weird stuff that happens at night and stuff like that. And one night, sure enough, he woke up. I wasn't there. George told me the story, and then ultimately Rodney later told me the story. He woke up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and the door was actually like would shut, and George would latch it, so no one knew he was there. From the outside. Oh. And I guess at like 3 in the morning, he woke up and was pounding on the door. George let him out, and he said he woke up and there was a face right in his face. Like right there, like right above him. And he said he freaked out. He got out of there and he said he went back home. He literally went back home to his parents. He's like, I'm done,
No spiritual stuff would get me out of here.
I know, it's crazy. And just, I mean, obviously, we have, kind of heard things from this room here and we don't know what that's all about. But I remember one time with George, I know this is a story I don't know if I've ever told you. George, I had mentioned, was always like kind of a prankster and he liked to kind of mess with people's minds, do things that just didn't seem well. You gotta remember, this was before the internet, so you couldn't go on and find magic tricks or whatever. So if he did magic type tricks, I don't know where he would have learned them, I mean, if he just had this intuition or whatever. I remember one time he took a fork and he put it in the flame of the stove, or the oven, whatever it is, stovetop. And he got it pretty hot and he like put it on my hand and it burnt it burnt me pretty good. I mean, I had like pretty good marks on it. And then he puts the flame back in the flame, back in the flame, back in the flame, and then sticks it on his hand for like indefinitely, just like, and then takes off, no marks at all.
That's crazy.
So again, I don't know, was it a sleight of hand?
Dude,
or was it like, I don't know.
Mind-blowing. Because like the same, very similar thing happened to me, and I wonder if it's an illusion. And please comment down below if you know this illusion. I was around a guy that had a cigarette and he was like, I guarantee I can put this cigarette out on my hand and not get burnt. And so he did it, no burn on his hand at all. And he was just like, I can do it to you. And I was like, okay, like, you didn't get burnt, let's do it. And inevitably, I have a scar on my hand right there, and that was about 2 years ago. So I got burnt, so I wonder if it is a magical illusion.
Yeah, I don't know. But I saw him do so many different things, like I had mentioned, that just don't seem like they could have been magic. I mean, like things moving across the table, literally where he'd be like, look at this glass, and he'd stare at it, and it would move. And you're like, how could you do that? How could you make that happen? I mean, I'm sitting right next to him. So I don't know. Again, I know, again, I've mentioned that he was really into messing with people's minds, but I don't know if it was because he was showing off some ability that he had, or if he really did have some kind of trickery that he somehow inherited from somebody. I'm not 100% sure.
And the worst part is, we will never know.
No, we'll never know, and I think that's the hardest part, about the whole thing is that you got to remember that I wasn't the only one that experienced this, and like we talked about, one of my dear friends, Dwayne, had mentioned he will come on. Yeah, I think the weird thing is it's not like it was just like what I experienced.
Yeah.
Again, a whole group of people experienced. We all knew that stuff was crazy going on, whether it was, when you were in the basement where we used to practice with for the band, and out of the corner eye you would see black shadows moving, and every single person that was there experienced something. Everybody.
With that being said, guys, please comment down below, because my Uncle Dwayne, his best friend that has more stories, and you guys do me a favor and comment down below and let me know if you want to hear any more stories. I'm gonna really read the comments and dissect, and I want to hear your questions and stuff, because this is just so interesting to me. Supernatural stuff is just, you can never really wrap your head around it, so it's just a never ending chase, you know what I mean, which is exciting for me. So thank you guys for watching, and with that being said, I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.